Hello Mavericks, this is Rob, and I regret to inform you we're talking about regret. Alright, now again, this is after the trade is said and done. Again, we do all of our analysis, we do all of our work, we run all of our numbers, and we make sure everything's in line, and then we make these trades. And sadly, once we click that button, everything's out of our hands. Now look, it's not everything's out of our hands. We still can decide risk management, we get to decide position sizing, we get to decide how much risk we do take. But what we don't get to decide is what happens. That is not up to us. And so we put in a lot of time and effort into analysis, looking at stuff. I tell people all the time that 98% of trading is done before the trade. And that's where all the work is. All the work is put into that moment. So we do our best, we put our money on the line, and then we are at the whim of market forces and supply and demand. Now the outcome of that is going to determine how we felt about all that effort. So again, just think about this. We found this trade, we did research, we looked through all the sectors, we looked through all the currencies, and we came to the conclusion that this was the right symbol, and then we ran numbers. We put a lot of time and effort into this. And then we're waiting for a payoff. Now, when you go to a regular job where you work, let's say you work and you get $15 an hour, you already know what your payoff is going to be. You already know that when you show up to work and you work an hour, you get paid $15. You know that payoff. In trading, we don't know that payoff, and it isn't until the trade is done that we either get the dopamine rush that we're looking for, or we get the opposite, the lack of dopamine. We get the real world results. So we now get the real world results. Again, we're kind of dealing in this fantasy land of buying stocks. Look, I know stocks are real, but we're on computers, clicking buttons, and the results of that become real. And again, they call it unrealized loss and realized loss. An unrealized loss, you haven't lost your money yet. And that's a funny psychological trap to fall into that we're not going to cover here. And that's why people say, oh, if I never sell, I've never realized the loss. Look at your account value, you've lost. Yes, it might come back, but you have lost. So we get this outcome. And we get this outcome of dopamine, of, oh my gosh, I love that, I want to do this again, I'm so smart. Or we get the opposite of, oh my gosh, I've lost money, that took me, a week to make that kind of money. I remember when I first started trading, I started equating my trades to how much I worked at my first job. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just lost 14 days of work. That was a really negative thing, because all of a sudden now I'm pegging it to this pain because I didn't like that job. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm pegging these results to this negative thing. And so that is going to produce baggage. And that's what we are going to talk about here, is baggage. Our desire is to go into every single trade fresh, like we've never lost a trade, like we've never gained a trade, and just fresh, where we're like, okay, I'm going to do everything right, click the button, and just follow my rules. Now the problem is that sometimes our brain doesn't want us to make a trade like that, because we've got baggage. What has happened in the past is going to have serious consequences. So again, let's say that you took a larger loss than you wanted. You took a big drawdown. Now that's either going to cause one of two feelings based on your personality. If you are more like me, aggressive, extrovert, risk taker, it's going to cause you to take more risk than you should. If you are the opposite of me, it's going to cause you to be hesitant. It's going to cause you to make smaller trades, and it's going to cause you to have low confidence. Do you see that we're going into a new trade? A chart's a chart. You're looking at the markets, you're trying to find the best symbol, you're looking at the charts, you're running your numbers. what happened last trade shouldn't affect you, but it will. It will affect you. And to understand, you have to understand that in order to finally fight that. Let's talk about losing streaks. Losing streaks are tough. They're just tough to deal with. Now, a lot of people say, Rob, you know what? I've got a strategy that I don't think I'll have losing streaks. Look, this is a guarantee you're going to have losing streaks. That's just the business you chose. I'm sorry. If you flip a coin 50 times, do you know that there's a very high probability, somewhere around 40%, that you'll flip 7 heads or 7 tails in a row? Yeah. And you're going to say, oh, that's such bad luck. Or, well, am I flipping it wrong? Again, all of a sudden, it's going to cause some emotional distress. And then after losses, we get short stacked. Now, this is a poker term. And when you play poker, when you start playing poker, you think you're just playing the cards. And you look at your cards and you make a bet on your cards. And as I've gotten more into poker, I realize I am not playing against the cards. I'm not playing against the odds. I'm playing against the people on the table. And one of my favorite sayings that I learned in poker that changed everything was, if you sit down at a poker table and you don't know within 5 minutes who the sucker is that you're going to take their money, you're the sucker. When I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never even had that thought before in my life. And I started to play poker differently. And when I started to play, I started to really watch what other people were doing. And I'm like, oh, this person, they rarely bet. And when they do, they've got a really good hand. So I'll fold ace-ace against them if I have to. But then I noticed someone over here that, boy, they're aggressive and they play really bad hands. So I might have a bad hand, but I'm going to play against that person because I think they're a bad player. Short stacked in poker is when someone has started out with a big stack and they're down to probably their last 2 to 3 bets. I love, and I know this is not going to sound very kind of me, but poker's not kind. I love when people are short stacked because I know I can take that stack. Why? Because their backs are against the wall. They have 2 or 3 hands left that they could possibly play. And if they don't play, they're just going to get worn down by the big blinds. By the blinds, they're going to just lose money as they have to put in some money to play. So they're going to make bad bets. Same thing in trading. When someone gets down to a lower level of capital, they start making bad bets. Now, a trade should be the same, whether you're doing 1 share, 10 shares, 100 shares, 1,000 shares, 10,000 shares. The chart's the chart. The setup is the setup. It should all be handled the same. But based on where your account value has been, you're going to trade differently. So as you can see, this is just a few examples. There are so many things we can do to bring baggage into the equation. You need to understand that you will bring baggage into every trade. And whatever you can do to get rid of that baggage is only going to help you be a much better trader. And so what I want to do is kind of talk today about leaving your bags. How do you leave your bags at the curb? So let's talk about some of the ways to do that. All right. So let's go through just some scenarios that are pretty common that happen to people that bring baggage into trades. All right, so let's talk about the first one. You got in, you made a trade, you made the trade, and short term it worked against you to the point you took a loss. And then it would have worked for you. And you look at this saying, oh my gosh, I just needed more time, or I just needed no stop, or I just needed something else because I was right and the short-term volatility got me. All right. When that happens to you, you're going to bring baggage into the next trade. Now I remember my brother, I've been trading with my brother for a while, and I remember his very first trade, he did everything wrong and he made money. And he said to me, oh, that was great, that was a great trade. I'm like, no, that was literally the worst thing that could have possibly happened to you. because now you think that all you have to do is hold on and it's going to come back. And sure enough, he had a hard time with that. He had a hard time overcoming that. So this is something, when you get in a trade, it doesn't work out short term. You either get stopped out or you didn't have enough time in your trade, and then it would have worked out wonderfully. That's baggage. What can you do to leave that baggage? And this is where you really have to be, number one, self-aware that, oh, this is going to cause me some trouble. Be self-aware. Okay, what can we do to get rid of it? And we'll go through what to do to get rid of it here in a second. Another one, FOMO, fear of missing out. So as we are disciplined traders and we are watching sometimes raging bull markets, and they've run and run and run, and we say, hey, you know what, it's prudent for us to pull back. It's prudent for us to be less bullish because we are overextended on symbols from moving averages. And then it keeps going. And then it keeps going. And then it keeps going. We've all been here before. And you're just waiting patiently. You're saying, no, I'm going to stay disciplined. I'm going to stay disciplined. In those kind of markets, tops are made. Tops and bottoms are made because the reasonable people broke. The reasonable people buckled. And they finally said, I need to get in. And that was the last bit of buying or the last bit of selling, where people say, oh my gosh, it's still going lower, it's still going lower. Okay, I can't handle it anymore, I have to get out. Then they get out. So again, what's happening in the market, what you're watching in the market is going to affect your trade. Here's one that happens all the time. You get into a trade, you put in your order, and you put in a pretty conservative order, so it goes up and maybe you make 1 or 2%, and the symbol continues to go 5, 10, 15%. You're out. You did everything right. You did everything right, but you're out. That's going to bring baggage into your next trade. The next trade, when you have something that looks like that, you're going to be like, oh, you know, I was disciplined last time, but it hurt me last time, so I'm not going to be disciplined this time. And then losing streaks. All right, so again, these are just some of the things that will help you bring baggage into the next trade. The whole point is, baggage is bad. Baggage is bad. And we need to be, number one, self-aware to say, okay, I have baggage. And then we have to think about, how do we get rid of baggage? Now this last one, losing streaks, I'm going to point you to this video here, dealing with slumps. This is a video I did a while ago, and it basically talks about when you are in a slump, this is the process to go through. And the first step is make sure you aren't the cause of the slump. Are you the cause of the slump? If you're the cause of the slump, then you just need to stop trading. If you're the cause, stop trading. And then you fix the problem. One of the things that have happened over the years, and it just happened literally last week, is that we have traders that are very good, very methodical, very disciplined, and all of a sudden sometimes they will act very erratically and do much bigger trading sizes, and over the years I've learned to get on the phone with that trader, and the first question I always ask them is, they're always going to think I want to talk about trading, and I always say, no, what's going on in your life? And they always just sit there and go, how did you know? I'm going through a divorce. Or, wow, how did you know? It happens all the time. So again, dealing with slumps, make sure that you're not the cause. So I'm going to point you to this video. It's a fairly long video, but it definitely goes through a lot of points. And let's get back to this here, trading baggage. How do you get rid of this? Well, here's the best thing to do. If you erase the last symbol you traded from your system, it isn't in your mind as much. Like once you get out of a trade, take that symbol and flush it away. If you don't see what that trade does, you can't have regret. You can't be like, oh, if I would have held on, it would have been gone. Or, oh my gosh, if I would have held on, it would have been such a big gain. Just get rid of the symbol. Now look, I know that's impossible, but Stop actively looking for the simple. Stop actively checking in to see what happened to your past trades. It is not doing you any good at all. I highly recommend when your trade is done, it's done. One of the things that I heard one of our traders do is that they, really cool, I like this idea, a little dramatic, but after their trade was done, they took their setup sheet, crumpled it up, and burned it. Now again, that is very dramatic, and I don't know why you would do that inside your house anyway, but it was symbolic of, hey, that trade is done. It's over. It's completely done. Just throw it in the garbage. But again, he did this because he wanted it to be very symbolic, to where, okay, this trade is now over. It is completely finished. I never need to look at this trade again. That is the viewpoint you have to have going into the next trades. Whatever you can do, and start think about what are some of the things you can do. One of the things I like is after a trade is over, shut your system down. Shut your system down, get up, walk around, and then you have to reboot your system. You have to reboot your system, and you have to reload everything, and then you have to start over from the beginning. These are the things that can really help get rid of your trading baggage. So to wrap this up, look, losses are going to happen. They're part of the business. Losing streaks are going to happen. They're part of the business. Understand that there are psychological changes and hormones going on inside of you as a result of this. If you trade while those hormones are raging, it's going to be very, very difficult to make a good decision. If you can check out and come back fresh, that is the best way to do it. So whatever you can do in your life to say, hey, how can I come back fresh to the next trade without this baggage? Do it. Shutting systems down, going for a walk, putting yourself in a trading halt for a week. Again, all these things help to where when you come back to make the next trade, you don't have regret. All you have is a focus of making the next trade. All right, thanks everybody.